Hi boys and girls, welcome to Art Today. The art we're going to be making today is going to be inspired by the work of Wayne Thiebaud. His birthday was Monday. He turned 100 years old. Can you believe that? Wayne Thiebaud was an artist who loved to work with color, and he loved to draw sweets and treats. In fact, one of his favorite things to draw was the ice cream cones. So I'm going to show you his work in the slideshow. You can take a peek at that. And then you're going to notice that I got inspired to create my own ice cream cones. And one of the things you're going to notice is I didn't draw just one. I drew more than one. I drew how many? 1, 2, 3. And each of my scoops of ice cream, or the ice cream inside my cone, is a little bit different, but I used very simple shapes. You're going to notice a letter. Can you tell what letter that is? It's a letter V. V for victory. And you're going to notice that I use the letter V for the shape of my cones, right here. Then you're going to notice on the top, I use the letter C. I guess that's backwards, right? Or the letter U upside down, right on top. So what I did, I'm going to break down the steps for you here. You can see that I started with that V shape, and there it is. My scoop looks like the letter C. C is usually like this, over like this on top, or the letter U upside down. So very simple shapes, the V and a U. And over here, I used like a C, but it's a little more flattened out, not so rounded, a little more flattened out, kind of like what we call quotation marks. 1, 2, 3, and then I did the same thing on the other side. 1, 2, 3, and I'll finish it off in the video for you. So you also notice that I used simple lines. Now we talked about the lines that go from side to side being horizontal lines, and lines that go up and down being vertical lines, but here we're using diagonal. So we're going to repeat those diagonal lines on our cone, going in one direction and then in the other direction, and that's going to look like the pattern, the surface of the cone to make it realistic. Okay, so take a look at the video. We'll go through it step by step. I hope you enjoy your ice cream cones. I like mine so much, I made a second one. You'll also notice here I added a little bit darker on the side to look like shadow. I'm going to be looking forward to seeing your ice cream cones on Artsonia. Have fun making it. Good luck, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Hi everyone. So take a look at what we're going to be working on today. We're going to be learning about how to draw ice cream cones using very simple shapes or letters. Can you tell what letter I'm showing? Yep, that's the letter V. And you could talk about the letter C or the letter U for the top of the cone. That will be your scoop. So I'm going to take you through the steps to see how we can do this. We're actually being inspired by the artwork of Wayne Thiebaud. Wayne Thiebaud, his 100th birthday was this week. It was on Monday. And he was pretty famous for his sweets and his treats, cakes, pies, pastries, lollipops, and ice cream cones. So what we're going to do is we're going to work in the style of Wayne Thiebaud to create our beautiful ice cream cones, okay? All right, so I'm going to start off in Sharpie. You can start off in pencil. You could trace something if you wanted to. I'm going to make 3 cones. So I'm going to start with a V. And when I make my letter V, I'm not going to make it really wide apart, like super wide apart, because that will actually make for a giant scoop. Not that I would mind that, but I think it'll look better if we actually make it a little closer together. So there's my first V, my second V, and my third V. Now, of course, there's other kinds of cones, but this is the kind of cone we're going to be working with today, okay? So remember I said that upside down C or U? There we go. And I like mine to kind of look like it's coming right off the side from the scooper. Now you could just draw your line straight across, or you could make it bumpy, like that, if you want. Now for here, I just want to go into the next step for a minute. We're going to use diagonal lines going in both directions. And I'm going to fill my V right in, just like that. Then I'm going to go in the other direction, diagonal lines. Those are lines that shoot from one side to the other. They actually create great movement when we're creating art, instead of being very flat and horizontal. So there's my first ice cream cone. I'm going to show you how you could also just make a very simple cone like this, and then you could go like this. Maybe you just want your scoop to look like that. That's okay. In fact, maybe you want more than one scoop. You want to add another one on top? There you go. What about another? I made 3 so they go right off the page. Now, you don't have to make those curvy lines if you don't want, but I think the diagonal is a great look for your cone. There we go. You can make your cone flat on the bottom too. I know some come like that. Now here's another little trick for ice cream. I'm going to do it a little bit soft serve, so I'm going to make it a curvy line and a curvy line. So it's kind of like a C, but it's a little bit wider, almost like what we call quotation marks. That's going to be like the soft serve going on my ice cream. I'm going to do another one, and I think I'll do one more. And it's kind of going more toward the middle, so you can see it's kind of similar to this line here. And then to finish it off, I kind of almost make like a flattened out S, and I could even make some extra lines here to make it look like soft serve. And I probably want to finish it off just like this. Now notice how I made my line curve instead of straight across. That kind of helps it look a little more realistic. Now I could take time to go in and use long skinny rectangles to make sprinkles if I want. Sprinkles all over. And you notice when I put them on, they aren't all going in the same direction, because when they put sprinkles on, they go in all different directions. That's why you have to eat it so fast. There's my diagonal lines again. Now, if I were you, I might start in pencil first and then outline in marker. I'm just doing it in marker so you can see really well, okay? There we go. And now I have, voila, my 3 ice cream cones, all different styles. So now when it comes to coloring, you know I like to give you options, so you can choose whatever material you want. I may actually start mine first of all deciding what flavor do I want. What flavor? I think I'm going to start with strawberry. Now, I love this little trick. There's something called oil pastel resist, and that means that if you use water color and paint, any kind of paint, mostly watercolor, near crayons or oil pastel, they kind of are good little blocks. They block the paint from running into here. So I might want to add some paint to my background later. So I'm going to outline my delicious strawberry ice cream. And you can mix colors. It's okay, whatever you want. I might even use a little bit of a darker color here for my strawberry. And I'm going to go along the edges and color. Makes it almost look like a shadow. Here we go. I might go back to my pink. I might even paint over my crayons. There's my strawberry. I might try that trick too with the brown. I'm going to outline it first in crayon, or if you have oil pastels and you want to try that, you can. Notice how when I'm using the crayon, the stroke I'm using, I'm going little tiny strokes, but I'm kind of pressing hard. And if you're going to press hard, you don't want to break your crayon, So you don't hold it all the way back here. You hold it closer to the tip. There we go. Little tiny strokes. Sometimes I rest my hand when I'm drawing. I can even outline these, maybe not all of them, maybe just some of them. I'm doing every other one. It's okay if it doesn't go right on the line. There we go. I think I'll stop there. I'm going to outline all my cones while I have my brown crayon out. That kind of just saves a little time. And now what I'm doing is I'm also creating a little bit of a wall of brown between my ice cream cone and my background color, because I'm going to use a little bit of watercolor. If you don't have watercolor, it's okay. You can use whatever materials you have. You can color the whole thing with crayon. Maybe you love yours in black and white. I do love mine, but I think it's going to be better if I take my time and I add color to it. It just seems like, if we're thinking about the artist Wayne Thiebaud, when you see his work in the slideshow, you're going to notice that he actually loves color. He loves to work with all different kinds of colors. So there we go. Add some more brown. Okay, maybe I'll even add a chocolate scoop right here. While my brown is out, I might as well put it to work. There you go, brown. Work your magic. Delicious chocolate. Maybe I want to make a coffee scoop. I do love coffee flavor, so maybe I'll go a little bit lighter. It'll look a little more tan. I might have a tan in here though, so let me see. You in there, tan? You're too yellow. Maybe I'll just have to use brown lighter, and that'll give me a nice tan shade. Looks a little more coffee-like. I wonder what your favorite flavor is. Okay, and so I have to decide on that last, oh, I know what color I want. I know it sounds strange, but I do love a little orange sherbet on my ice cream, and that is definitely orange. I'm just going to color it a little bit because remember I said I was going to use paint. Okay, hold on a second. I'm just going to check on sound. Okay guys, picking up where I left off, I'm thinking about that last one. And I kind of love sometimes interesting flavors, like maybe a blueberry soft serve. Sometimes they actually have them in that color. So I'm going to make a blue soft serve. Blue soft serve, just like that. Go down here too, I think, with my blue. I'm going to color in some of my sprinkles, all different colors. And remember, sometimes just move around if you don't want to keep changing colors. Like I keep coloring every other one. Where are you, yellow? It's time for you to work. You can't sleep all the time. Oops. Sometimes you have to switch the side of your crayon because it gets worn down, you use it so much. So sometimes I switch over to this side and then I finally start to tear the peel. I don't like to take it all off because I like to see the names of them. But I definitely know these crayons are still great. They don't stop working just because they get a little worn out. They like to work to the end. And at the end, what I like to do sometimes is save my crayons, even when they get really worn out, and I peel them. And then you can use them on their side, and they make interesting coloring. And you can make, almost sometimes you could put like a leaf underneath, and you could do rubbings. It's actually a lot of fun. All right, so let's see about getting started with my paint. And I wanted to go over this with you because I notice that sometimes in kindergarten, we haven't had a chance to really go over it. I want to just say that we sometimes don't use our brush correctly. And the reason for that is when you have a brush like this, we call this a flat brush, it has a side that's like this. That's going to give you thick lines. like this, and it's going to cover a large area. If I use the side of my brush, it's thin, so it'll give me thin lines. And when we work our brush, we always want to pull on the bristles. We never want to scrub our paper because it's going to rip, and it's also going to ruin our brush. So let's say I want to do a yellow background. Notice when I'm in the paints, right now mine are still a little wet from yesterday. I just want to add a little puddle. I don't want to dig in my paint because that's not how we use watercolor. Watercolor is not supposed to be too soft. It's supposed to be a little hard, and you get just the water on it. And notice how I'm pulling. And when you pull like this, you're able to fill a large area all at once. That's kind of why I love paint sometimes. I want to see the magic, how it fills. Look at how I'm pulling. You can pull like this, but you're always pulling your bristles. Pull, pull, pull. Pull, pull, pull. There we go. Gonna do over here too. Look at how you can go around the shapes. Around the shapes. Coloring a large area at once. Notice how I'm pulling. I'm never scrubbing. And so I'm going to work to fill my whole background. Everything here. And because I'm using such a smart technique, I can get done pretty quickly. So you can keep working while I'm talking. There we go. Oops. My watercolor needs more water. Now when you use watercolor instead of other kinds of paint that are more like liquid, like they seem like yogurt, you can see a lot of the color of the paper through here. So the beauty of watercolor is that they create a lot of light in your picture. You can see the color and you can see the light of the paper showing through. That's probably why you would never use watercolor on a black piece of paper, because it really wouldn't show so well on there. It's very see-through. You know, sometimes when there's curtains and you can see right through them, and other times the curtains are so thick they block out all the light. That's kind of like watercolor is what we call sheer, transparent, see-through, and the other paints, tempera, oil paint, they tend to be less see-through. Sometimes you can see through them, but not as much as watercolor. All right, so I try to go as close to the edge as possible. Now I'm thinking about how I want to color my, I'm being gentle, sorry, wasn't being so gentle with you. I'm going to go in, I'm just going to tap a little darker brown here because I want it to look like shadow. And then I'm going to use more water. More water means it's lighter, so it's going to look more tan. And it's okay if the colors run together. I don't blend them so much because I want it to be a little darker toward the edges. I could do that the opposite way. I could color first, and then I could just tap a little bit of the darker color here. Darker. So see how I'm using my brush a little bit different? You can experiment with your brush. Just be kind to it. Don't push down very hard on the bristles. Don't hold them like a pencil and scrub them. Although you can always do that, it's your paintbrush. I'm just saying that usually it means your brush will be worn out a lot sooner than it needs to be. In the art room, I'd probably say, nope, 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 because we all have to share the brushes, right? At home, right now you're using your own supplies, but when we're together in the art room, we'll be sharing supplies, so there'll be certain rules about how to use them, just so that we make them last a long time. When we take care of things, they last a long time. I go a little bit darker here. Maybe I might use crayon on top of it. That's something you can do also. You can paint on top of or paint a watercolor. You can go back. So once mine is dry, I can still add some things to it if I wanted to. Right now I'm just coloring it. Oh, I might use red. Is actually, when you use red on paper, if you use it very lightly, it's also pink. And you can see how the paint doesn't stick to everything, but it is filling in those white spots. Filling in all the white spots I didn't get. I like mine to look solid. And now I'm up to my blueberry flavor. Oops, I think I used it too dark. That's okay too. I mean, you can. It's just that I don't want my watercolor to go away too soon. Look at how it happens. We call that resist. When you paint over crayons with watercolor, it won't stick to the crayon part. Normally, I'd tell you to make sure it was super duper light and don't press too hard. You see how gentle I'm going over it? And look at how you can still see the yellow. There we go. Oops, I went out. That's okay. I can always leave it. It's a nice touch. We all make. My water's too dark now. I think I'm just going to leave it or blend it in. Blend it in. It'll look like a little shadow there. Okay, so there we have it. Our ice cream cones inspired by the artist Wayne Thiebaud. Happy birthday, Wayne Thiebaud. 100 years old this week. Now I showed you me using my watercolors. You can use crayons, you can use markers. I organize mine by warm and cool. And any materials you have to create yours. As long as you can draw, you can create. All right, boys and girls, have fun. You can add anything else you want to your picture. You can certainly use different styles. Maybe you get a certain kind of ice cream cone I don't know about, or maybe you like yours in a cup and it's a different shape. You can experiment. It's your art. Enjoy.